Welcome back to I'll Learn. Today we are going to talk about equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions that represent the same value even though their numerators and denominators are different from each other. They look different, but they mean the same thing. As an example, here we have 3 pies. Our first pie we've cut into 2 pieces, so any fraction that we talk about for this one is going to be over 2. The middle pie we have divided into 4 pieces, and the last pie we've divided that into 6 pieces. If we eat the same amount of each pie, shown here, we can see that on the first pie we have 1 piece left. The second pie we have 2 pieces left, and on the third pie we have 3 pieces left. Each of these fractions looks very different from each other, but they're all equivalent. They all mean the same thing. In the first one we ate half the pie. That's the same as 2/4, which is the same or equal to 3/6 of that same pie. Here we can see a chart that shows some common fractions, and you can very quickly see what some equivalent fractions are here. In the last example, we showed that 1/2 was the same as 2/4 was the same as 3/6. And here on this chart you can see they all line up together. You can also see on this chart, for instance, that 2/3 is the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. A chart like this can be really useful finding equivalent fractions quickly, but what if you don't have a chart like this? Or what if the fractions you're working with aren't on this chart? When we run into that situation, we can use a setup like this. Let's go back to our original example, where we started with 1/2 and we got to 2/4. How did that happen? Well, you can multiply your numerator and your denominator by the same number, and you will always come up with an equivalent fraction. In our earlier example, we cut the 1 piece into 2 pieces, so that was times 2. Whatever I do to my top, I have to do to the bottom. So multiply by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Therefore, I can see that 1/2 is equal to or equivalent to 2/4. Let's take a different fraction. Let's start this time with something like 3/5. I can choose something to multiply my numerator and my denominator by. Any number works. I could do 4. And then I look and say 3 times 4 equals 12. And 5 times 4 equals 20. And now I've made an equivalent fraction to 3/5. 3/5 is the same as 12/20. Let's do one more example and maybe draw a little picture to go along with it, just to prove that they are the same. Let's start with, let's say 3/4. All right. And I'd like my denominator to end up being an 8 when I get over here. So I will have to multiply by 2 here in the middle. Whatever I do to one side of my fraction, I have to do to the other. So now I've ended up with 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. 6/8. Let's see if these really are equivalent fractions. I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to cut my circle into 4 pieces over here. I'm going to draw a circle on this side, and I'm going to cut this one into 8 pieces. My first circle, I said I was using or shading 3/4. And I said that was equivalent to shading 6/8 over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over here. Comparing these two circles, I can see that both of them ended up with an equal amount shaded as the other one. These are equivalent fractions. Now, drawings are never perfect. That's why it's so important to know how to do these with numbers so that we can find equivalent fractions. As always, I've got a notes page here that you can look at and copy down right now, or you can print the PDFs from the link in the description. Going over what we have here, we've got some vocabulary. We discussed today what an equivalent fraction was and how to find an equivalent fraction. On the left page, I have the chart for you, as well as 3 examples filled in and a space where you can make your own. For a summary, I said I can change fractions into other fractions that mean the same thing. I can multiply my numerator and denominator by the same number to make new fractions with equal or equivalent values. As always, thanks for watching this video today. If you found it useful or helpful, please like and subscribe, and feel free to check out my resources in the links in the descriptions.